Guys, so when Professor Teffo Masiba speaks in South Africa, if you're South African, you better listen. So he has been addressing this whole issue about a national dialogue for a long time. And, one of the things he speaks about how, it appears as though South Africans are nostalgic of 1955. It appears as though this whole thing with the national dialogue, there's so much nostalgia for the Codesa period, for the period when the charter that actually guided South Africa's movement into independence, so to speak. He argues that there seems to be a kind of nostalgia for that kind of event. But then history has moved on, and he's actually arguing that, one of the basic tenets to understand how to solve South Africa is to really see the common problems, or to address the common problems that South Africans are speaking about in their daily lives. One of them is this whole issue with crime. Crime is something, I really don't know what the national dialogue and how the national dialogue would address this thing of crime. I think crime is something that probably the government should put an armada of resources and just almost somehow get to war. If you listen to the presidential aspirant who, many people have actually thought that he would win the last elections in Nigeria. His name is Peter Obi. He's actually one person who in West Africa, many people actually have been campaigning for. He argues because the kind of crime we see in South Africa is not the kind of crime we see in Nigeria. So in Nigeria, there's still this issue with, there are headsmen clashes. They're kind of like terrorism that comes from, I think, kind of like headsmen, kind of like cattle, jihadist kind of, association with Boko Haram and all of that. Peter Obi in Nigeria thinks that when he becomes president, he's just going to declare war, because there's nothing else, there's no other way to describe what's going on when terrorists, appearing as headsmen, for example, kill citizens in a country, and you say that's war. So he thinks that, if he becomes president, he's just going to declare war and wipe out all of those there until, there's security in the land. I think this is kind of the action, a land ridden with crime and all this actually might need at this time, rather than a national dialogue. And I think this is what Professor Teffo Masiba is speaking about. He's speaking about implementation. He's speaking about action. One of the things that he said that really stuck with me a lot is, and I'm still trying to really understand it, but he speaks about the connection between the tender system, this whole thing about tenders, and the rise of mafias, different kinds of mafias in South Africa. He speaks about how the tender system seems to have given birth to many kinds of mafias in South Africa, and that those are the kind of issues that do not necessarily need a dialogue, but they simply need action to kind of like address in that regard. And so these are some of the issues, and I think Leon did a good job in asking him the right questions in this interview. Really powerful interview, which I think all South Africans need to watch to understand, because this whole thing about the national dialogue, I've been seeing a lot of the videos, and I don't know if I might be mistaken anyway, but I see a majority of the blacks in that whole national dialogue thing. Where are the whites? Or maybe I'm mixing it up. This is just me. I'm trying to look at this whole thing from the outside. All right, but in most of the videos I've seen a majority of the black people in South Africa, and I really don't understand what and how that actually came to be. But anyway, whatever the case is, Professor Teffo Masiba here is actually speaking about how South Africans are tired of these voluminous documents. At the end of the day, he argues that this kind of national dialogue might end up in a voluminous document full of theory, full of philosophy, full of sociology, and South Africans are tired. They really want implemented. Let's quickly listen to him and Leon. Really insightful discussion. I think every South African should be listening, and share your thoughts, guys, in the comments.
So, Prof, how are you feeling about this? I'm trying to feel how I am feeling about looking around, seeing all these prominent people, eminent personalities that have arrived to talk about the problems of South Africans. How are you feeling? Are the right people here?
Look, let me at the outset state unequivocally, I supported the idea of the dialogue a year ago. I wrote and spoke to that extent. 6 months down the line, I changed my position. I said I no longer support it. And I stand here today to say I don't support the dialogue.
Why are you here? I know you work here.
Yeah.
But why are you in attendance then?
Yes, because what is it that we do not know? that we want to at least go around the country trying to determine and come up with a plan to action that. I said then, I repeat, 80% of what is going to come out of here is already contained in the National Development Plan. My people of the Republic are nostalgic. They think they can still have 1955 Cape Town that resulted in a freedom charter. They think they can go back to have a second CODESA. They think they can go back to 1955, women marching to the Union Building. That history is gone and past. We are living in a new age. If indeed it's about what it is that afflict us, we know. Look, Leanne, there is an elephant in the room. There is. As long as you don't talk and deal with the question of migration, and it is not there in the program. For me, this is a sociology conference. I went through the documents. I looked at the 7 themes. If you like, sociology stroke philosophy. It doesn't talk to the real issues that afflict the people. The tender system, corruption, safety and security, right? You have got all sorts of mafias. Do I? Because of the tender system. And I don't see room for that. I want to deal with practical things. I don't see in the documents talk about amending the Electoral Act, which is key to turning things around. I've got 5 points that if you were to deal with them in 24 months, you can turn around things, but deal with the question of migration. Please do.
So maybe it will be discussed. Maybe that's what this is all about, is to bring people together, and perhaps maybe they will come on the agenda, those issues that you're talking to. Do you think that this, perhaps, because what I've been told is that this is really the plenary session, this is going to figure out how it's all going to work, to go into the communities, to find out what it is that they want to put on the national agenda. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. Yes. I'm trying to.
Tell that to the beds.
I'm trying.
Tell that to the beds. If you really want to deal with the real problems that matter, take the HSRC, the Human Sciences Research Council. We have got 9 provinces. In each province, we have got universities. SRC in collaboration with the universities. In 3 months, they will give you a document, well researched, that you can action.
Yeah.
Don't waste money. Give the HSRC 2 million rent. I worked at the HSRC. I know what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And that's I'm already proposing an alternative to this. It's good. Let's enjoy the day.
Yeah.
But let's not waste money, because there is a cheap way of achieving what we want to do.
So we've got a wonderful research team at the SABC, and they put together a research document, and they went back into what it is that these national dialogues are actually for. And we find that in countries you have a national dialogue where it's used to resolve a political crisis. It's used to pave the way for political transitions or sustainable peace. It also brings about it's used as a tool by elites to gain or reclaim political legitimacy, which has limited potential for any transformation. That's what history has told us. Do you think anything is going to be different in this national dialogue?
Look, let me say, let's enjoy the day. Let's meet and feel good, right? For me, it's almost theatrical. I don't see much coming out of this. I can tell you now, 80% of what should come out. Implementation. We have the documents, we have the policies, we know what our problems are. Go to the rural areas, they will tell you. What they want is water, is safety and security. They want jobs.
Yeah.
Right? Who are the people
and they
who
don't
are
want to
taking
talk
their
about
jobs?
it. They talk about it their whole life. They
Yes.
want to see it happen. And I think that's what I'm gathering from everyone that's here.
The existential experience dictates the solutions that ought to be taken. You don't need too much research, but I'm saying there is a cheap and easy way. Within 3 months, we can have a document that we begin to action. But you're going to come with a document with 20, 30 priorities. Japan, China, Russia will give you 2 or 3 priorities for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Let's have 5 points that we work on and see how far we can go. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a glossy, voluminous document like the national plan, and you are not going to action it.
Prof, let's leave it there.